It is officially the last UFC card of the year, UFC 296. We're not getting bullshit. Santi, get us started with the first fight of the card.
First fight of the main card is Vicente Luque versus Ian the Cuckold Gary. Listen, Ian Gary, his whole personal issues, I think he's a dick for just filming stuff in gyms. That's just bro code. Can't do that. But in terms of his actual style and his fighting style, it's beautiful. His striking is top 5 in welterweight, in my opinion, in terms of his technicality. And Vicente just does not move that head. I see a 1-2 hitting very clean on Ian Gary, or a high kick hitting on Luque. And Ian Gary gets a third decision. It's very hard to take out Vicente Luque.
Vicente's just not who he was. I mean, yeah, he's coming off that RDA win, but look, man, it's Gary. Take him by however you want, to be honest. He can knock him out. He could go to decision, whatever you want. It's going to be Gary, even though it'd be hilarious if he lost.
In terms of his actual skill, though, this guy is a very big prospect in this welterweight division, and I'm looking to see a lot from him. I just don't want to hear him. I want him in the Octagon, fight out of the Octagon, and I never hear from him again. And then another fight, all that. I just don't want to hear about this man anymore. We'll move on to Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett. This is going to make me cry, or this is going to make me cry in terms of joy. And part of me wants to go for Paddy minus 320. This guy leaves his chin up in the air, and Tony leaves his chin up in the air. So I think this is a 50-50 game, and I think when it gets to that third round, there's one man that's going to be breathing through his nose and one man that's huffing and puffing. Give me Tony Ferguson by decision.
That's what I love to hear, because I'm going the same exact way. And bro, anytime you train with David Goggins, this man is literally throwing up as he's doing sprints. And look, I'm just saying, Goggins was training with John Jones before he put Cyril Gane out. So, look, Paddy's great, but there's so many flaws, and I think Tony, it might be his last fight ever. I think he just says fuck it and lays everything out there. So give me the plus 250. It shouldn't be plus 250. Tony Ferguson.
There is a case of, is he overtrained with David Goggins? He is the first ever person to do Hell Week, apparently, which I'm so scared. That's Hell Week to a different stratification. I hear Hell Week in wrestling, I hear Hell Week in soccer, and it's just like a couple miles. Can't imagine what David Goggins is. But I'm going Tony Ferguson. I really do think, and I'm really positive about this one. If he does lose, I see him out of the UFC, and then he ends up taking a bare knuckle fight with Mike Perry probably, and then I think that's the end of Tony from there. And then we move on to the next fight. We have Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. It's hard to want to pick against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's such a nice guy. His style is incredible. His style is going to live on for years and years and years. There's nobody that's going to be Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And I don't think there's a lot of people that's like Shavkat Rakhmonov. This guy, I think he's going to be the welterweight champ in 2 to 3 years, in my opinion. I think he does lose to Leon or Colby for now, but I think his game can evolve and win another belt. I am going with Shavkat in this fight if he does use the wrestling. I think if he tries to strike with Wonderboy for a while, Wonderboy's going to figure him out, and this fight gets real interesting. But once we add in Shavkat's takedowns, this fight's hard to pick. I'm going Shavkat.
The thing is with this fight, it can be so simple. Shavkat can get the takedowns and just make it one of those Gilbert Burns type of fights. And like you said, it's so tough to pick against Thompson. So I'm going with Stephen Thompson, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I think that Wonderboy, I don't know why, I don't know how, I said this is the only way that he wins a title, is if Leon is the champion. And somehow, Leon took Usman to the cleaners and said, hey, I understand your knees are 97 years old, so I'm going to beat you. And Wonderboy has made this path. He was supposed to fight Leon before Leon and Usman, but I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. I think Wonderboy beats Shavkat. It's probably going to be a decision because there's no way he knocks him out unless it's some Kevin Holland stoppage type of thing. But then he goes on, and then does he get pieced by Leon? Probably. But that's what I see. I have a gut feeling Shavkat is the better fighter. He will be the better fighter in the next 5 years, but I don't know. I got a feeling.
And one thing that does point out that this fight can get real interesting that the odds don't say, Shavkat stayed on the feet with Jeff Neal even when he was hurt. So Shavkat does have that confidence in him. Instead of taking the smart route and probably wrestling with Jeff Neal, and he decided to brawl with him. And that fight ended up being one of the better fights of last year. But you can't have a striking battle with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and think it's going to come out well. Wonderboy is just way too good. But I do think Shavkat will use his IQ, hopefully, so I can get this pick right. Then we go to the co-main event. This fight is so interesting in my opinion. I think this is going to be fight of the night. It's Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Royval. I know Andy does not like Royval because of what he did to Kai Kara-France, but this fight has already happened. Pantoja wiped-washed Brandon, and that was only a couple years ago. Do I think Brandon Royval made any improvements? Yes. I mean, there's a reason why he's at a title shot. Do I think it's enough? No. I think the only person that can beat Alexandre Pantoja is Kai Kara-France and Brandon Moreno. That's it. I don't think Amir Abazi can. I don't think David Dvorak or Muhammad Moikaev. I think they're way too young or way too unskilled compared to that top three, which is Kai Kara-France and Brandon Moreno and Alexandre Pantoja. I think Brandon Royval is levels under Pantoja, and I see a submission in the second round.
You said we've seen this fight before, and calling out a submission in the second round, that's probably what's going to happen. And like you said, I'm not the biggest Royval fan. I just thought he was super negligent in not only his offense, but his defense. And it kind of showed, right? It showed in that first fight. He's gotten a lot better, and he's cleaned up a lot of his mistakes. But look, man, Pantoja's just a better fighter. He's a more experienced fighter. He's beaten him already, and I just don't see a path where Royval, unless he does some godsend shit where he does a fucking spinning elbow from the ground and into whatever it is, I don't see Royval winning. Is he going to stay a top contender? Yeah, sure. But I would love to see a little rematch with Kai Kara. So, other than that, give me Pantoja. Simple as that. Give me, like, round 3, to be honest.
It is a very interesting fight, and why I think it's fight of the night, because we saw Pantoja against Brandon Moreno just start brawling it out with him. And if you try to brawl with Brandon Royval, it can go well, and it could also go horrible. If Pantoja and Shavkat all use their IQ, these are easy locks. But the fact that they have shown low levels of IQ makes me really get interested about this fight. And we will now go to the main event. We got Leon Edwards versus Colby American Badass Covington. America's champion, am I right? Other than Sean Strickland. I don't think he beats him. I think Leon Edwards is way too good for Colby, in my opinion. Leon Edwards, his distance management, his overall striking prowess, I've explained it all in our latest video. I think Leon Edwards takes this to a decision or a late round KO. It's hard to see Colby get knocked out or get tired, so I do have it by decision if I would to bet on this fight. But yeah, give me Leon.
Again, if you haven't watched already, go back to the last video where we kind of break down both the styles of these fighters, but I will be taking Colby, the real American, Covington. And the reason for that is just because when we saw Leon versus Usman, we see Usman literally shoot and then give up on the takedown. And whether it be because just his arthritis, his knees, or whatever, I just don't think Colby lets up. And that's what I'm pretty much alluding to. Leon's been taken down so many times by less skilled fighters. And while, yes, he could stop it, whether he's in the clinch or anything like that, I just think that Colby puts on a relentless pace and does not give Leon the space that he wants. He doesn't give him the looks that he wants. And because his style is just so weird, I think it takes him two and a half rounds to fully digest it. And by that time, Colby is already taking those, round and a half, let alone the stamina he's going to put in the last half of it. So give me Colby. This is going to be the most fucked up year with all the champions, the changes, the Shaw Stricklands. It's going to have to end with Colby.
There is a little point I want to say. You want to talk about Colby being so weird. I feel like that also gets him caught. And with Leon, you can't really get caught in those point fighting exchanges, because Leon is such a point fighter that it will win over judges. And we've seen that against Cowboy Cerrone, against Nate Diaz, where he's almost point fighting you and you can't do anything about it. But we will go to any locks in the prelims, main card, early prelims. Let me hear it, Andy.
It's in the prelims. It's a fighter coming off a 2-year absence off a knockout.
Is that Cody Garbrandt?
That would be Cody Garbrandt. I think, look, again, I'm just basing it off talent. And right now, I think he's better. I think he is better than Keller. And I just think that, hey, take 2 years off. I think you come back like Sean Brady. I think you do something nice. I think you beat him. My second lock I was going to say, as much as I hate it, and I do hate this pick, I think I might take Josh Emmett. Only because of the 10 days that Bryce Mitchell, was it 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it was? That 2 weeks is not enough, especially the game plan against someone that's the top 10 of the division that could stand and bang with you. And if you don't land a takedown, bro, it's looking scary for you. And we saw Bryce Mitchell getting pieced up. So that's what scares me. So the second one's not really a lock.
And there is that factor that I do want to talk about. It's not my lock, but it is a bet that if you had to pick an underdog on this card, I think Josh Emmett, Tony Ferguson, and maybe Wonderboy, if Shavkat's IQ is very low, that they're great underdogs that you can get the backing of. Tony has Paddy Pimblett's flaws. Shavkat maybe tries to brawl with Wonderboy. And you also have Bryce, who can maybe not get the takedown, and Josh Emmett will put your lights out if you can't get a takedown. He has one of the most fearsome powers in the 145 division. But my locks, I don't want to touch Cody Garbrandt, because when someone touches him, he gets knocked out. So I really don't want to touch that one. I will touch Dustin Jacoby, pause, minus 275. I do think he gets it by decision, so if you want to put some money there. Andre Touchy-Feely, I'm just picking all the sus fighters, I guess. I think he does get the win over Lucas Almeida. And Randy Rude Boy Brown, I think Randy Brown does get it against Muslim Salikov. That is a little bit closer of a fight. That is one of those underdogs that if you do bet on him, it's kind of a good way. There's a lot of underdogs on this card that I think can easily get this win. So beautiful day for betting, beautiful day for fights, beautiful day for studs.